Hi everyone, this is Tutor Marife MCP. I create math video lessons that could serve as your supplemental learning resources. In this video, I will teach you how to determine the inequality for this given graph. To find the inequality for this graph, step 1 is to find the equation of its boundary line. How do we find the equation of the boundary line? Let's use the slope-intercept form or the y equals mx plus b form of a line. M is the numerical coefficient of x, and it represents the slope of the line or the ratio of rise to run. B is the constant term of the slope-intercept form, and it represents the y-coordinate of the y-intercept of a line. When writing the equation of a line using the slope-intercept form, the two key values are the value of m and the value of b. Let's start with finding the value of b because this is very easy to spot. B is the y-intercept of the line. Y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Let's look at the graph of the boundary line. This is the y-axis, this is the boundary line, and this is the point where the boundary line crosses the y-axis. This is the y-intercept. The coordinates of the y-intercept are 0 and -2. Remember that any point on the y-axis always has the x-coordinate equal to 0. That's why when we are solving for the y-intercept of any equation, we always set x to 0. This y-coordinate of the y-intercept is the value of b. Therefore, b is equal to -2. We're now left with finding the value of m. How do we find the value of m? If the graph of the boundary line is given, locate any 2 points on the boundary line that are very easy to work with. When we say points that are very easy to work with, we mean points with integer coordinates. So based on the given graph of the boundary line, the 2 points that are very easy to work with are the y-intercept and the x-intercept of the line. We already know the coordinates of the y-intercept. We have 0 and -2. The coordinates of the x-intercept are 2 and 0. Remember that any point on the x-axis always has the y-coordinate equal to 0. That's why when we are solving for the x-intercept of any equation, we always set y to 0. We are going to use these coordinates in solving for the value of m. M is equal to the change in y, or the difference between the y-coordinates of the 2 points, divided by the change in x, or the difference between the x-coordinates of the 2 points. The change in y is rise. The change in x is run. That's why the definition of slope is the ratio of rise to run. We call the x-intercept as point 1. Label its coordinates as x sub 1 and y sub 1. We call the y-intercept as point 2. Label its coordinates as x sub 2 and y sub 2. Plug these values into the rise over run formula to solve for m. Replace y sub 2 with -2, replace y sub 1 with 0, replace x sub 2 with 0, replace x sub 1 with 2. Negative 2 minus 0 divided by 0 minus 2. Simplify. Negative 2 minus 0 equals negative 2. 0 minus 2 equals negative 2. Any number divided by itself is always equal to 1. The value of m is 1. Let's now write the slope-intercept equation of this boundary line. Plug the values of m and b into the slope-intercept equation of a line. Y equals, the numerical coefficient of x is 1. We omit it. We don't write 1. So the first term of the right side of the slope-intercept equation is just x. The numerical coefficient is understood to be positive 1. The constant term of the slope-intercept equation is the value of b, and it's equal to negative 2. Y equals x minus 2 is the equation of this boundary line. We're done with step 1. Let's proceed to step 2. The second step is to note whether the boundary line is dotted or solid. When the boundary line is dotted, the inequality sign is either less than or greater than. If the boundary line is solid, the inequality sign is either greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. In other words, there is an equal component to the symbol when the boundary line is solid. We have a solid boundary line. So our options are greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. For the last step, we need to find out which of the two options is correct. Let's use the expression on the left side and the expression on the right side of this equation. We have y on the left, x minus 2 on the right. Then, pick any point that's inside the shaded region. Usually, the easiest point to work with is the origin. It happens that the origin is also inside the shaded region. Why? Because both the x and y coordinates of the origin are 0. Replace x and y with 0, the coordinates of the origin. The left side becomes 0. The right side becomes 0 minus 2. Simplify the right side. 0 minus 2 is equal to negative 2. Copy the left side. We need to make a true inequality statement by writing the correct inequality sign in between the two numbers. Determine which of the two numbers is larger. 0 is larger than negative 2. If you're still confused with which of the two inequality signs means greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, it is useful to remember that the open side of the inequality sign always faces the larger number. 0 is larger than negative 2. Therefore, you should use the inequality sign with an open side facing 0. This is the correct inequality sign. Since the boundary line is solid, there should be an equal component to the inequality side. Let's now write the inequality for this given graph. Y greater than or equal to x minus 2. This is the answer. That's it. If you have any questions, you want further clarification, or you want to give a feedback on this video, feel free to post your comments. Again, this is Tutor Marife MCP. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video.